Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. We welcome to Online Teaching Academy, Ekaliva. Standard 11, Biology. In the last class, we have studied about the stem. Now, we will look into the next part, the leaf. When you see a typical leaf, you will find the leaf arises from the node and it has a stalk which you call it as a petiole. And at this point of the node, there may be two lateral appendages which arises, what we call them as stipules. And the flat portion of the leaf, we call it as a leaf blade or leaf lamina. This is the place of photosynthesis. And there is a prominent midrib you will find which travels on the lamina, which we call it as a midrib. And from the midrib, you will find the vein and the veinlets. Now, the part of the leaf which is attached to the base of the stem is called leaf base, and in legumes you will find the leaf base is broad, thick and swollen, then we call it as pulvinous. In the picture you can see a small broad thick swollen portion which is there at the leaf base, you call it as a pulvinous, and will find in leguminous plants. Now, in monocots, the picture you can see there, the base of the petiole, that is the leaf base, you will find it extends into a clasp-like structure, and such base is called as sheathing leaf base. So, in monocots, you will find the leaf base extends into a clasp known as sheathing leaf base. Now, the stalk of the leaf is called as a petiole. So, if a leaf is having a petiole, you call it as a petiolate leaf, which we can see in hibiscus. If the petiole is absent, it is called as sessile, which we can see in Calotropis. And the expanded flat green portion of the leaf is the blade or the lamina. And when we looked the picture, we were saying that it is a seat of photosynthesis. Gaseous exchange also takes place, and at this place transpiration also takes place. So, the leaf performs photosynthesis, helps in gaseous exchange and transpiration. And the lamina is traversed by the midrib, from which arise numerous lateral veins and veinlets. And the previous picture we have seen that there are two lateral appendages, the leaf bears, which we call them as stipules. If the leaves are having the stipules, you call it as a stipulate leaf. If the leaves are without stipules, you call it as exstipulate or estipulate. Now, the arrangement of veins and veinlets on the leaf blade or lamina is called venation. And there are two different forms of venation. One is reticulate. Reticulate means netted pattern, and it is a characteristic feature of a dicot plant. And parallel venation, where you will find the veins run parallel to each other, and it is a characteristic feature which we will see in monocot plants. Like when you were talking about the roots, we said that the taproot is a characteristic feature of a dicot, and fibrous root is a characteristic feature of a monocot plants. The same way here, reticulate venation, if you see, you can see that those plants belong to dicot, and if you see them, the leaf in parallel venation, then you can say it is a monocot plant. So, when we were talking about in the initial part, when we said that morphology is the external study of external form and feature. So, if you see that, we can say that they belong to dicot or monocot, so that the morphology helps in taxonomic study. So, in reticulate venation, you will find two forms, one is pinnate or palmate. If the midrib is only one, prominent midrib is seen, then you call it as unicostate, you will call it as. If many prominent midribs are there, you call it as multicostate. And if it is feather-like, you call it as pinnate. If they are palm-like, you call it as a palmate. And under palmate, we will see two different forms. One is called as convergent, the other one is divergent. What is convergent? Convergent is if the midribs, the veins, if they converge at a point from the base to the tip, you call it as convergent. If the veins diverge from the base of the leaf to the tip, you call it as a divergent. And in parallel venation, you will find pinnate and palmate. Again there, you will find under palmate multicostate, where more than one prominent midrib, if it is there, which is being classified into convergent and divergent. We will see the picture so that you will become more familiar, and you can observe these type of leaves when you go around or in your garden when you look the plants. Now, the reticulate venation is nothing but the veinlets are irregularly distributed and they form a network on the lamina. Then you call it as reticulate. In this we are going to see pinnately reticulate venation. Pinna is, it is feather-like, and unicostate means if it is only one midrib in the center. And this pinnately reticulate venation you will find in mangifera, magnifera, that is the example of mango. In palmately reticulate venation, you will find multicostate, where you will find more than one prominent midribs if they are there, two or more midribs if they arise, you call it as multicostate. In this, we are going to see divergent in cucurbita, where you will find that the midribs are diverging from the base of the stem to the tip. And if all the veins, if they meet at a point, you call it as convergent, Gygippus. And if in the parallel venation, the veins run parallel to each other, and it is a characteristic feature which is seen in monocots. And if it has only one prominent midrib, you call it as unicostate. Only one prominent midrib if you can see in the center, example musa. And in palmate, you will find multicostate, where you will find several veins arise from the base of the petiole. In this you have two different forms, one is divergent and convergent. So you will find divergent, in the palm you will find boracis, or it may be convergent, which you will see in bamboo. So this is the picture, commonly you can see in one slide, where you will find reticulate venation, the netted pattern, and only one prominent midrib may be there, unicostate. If many prominent midribs are there, you call it as multicostate. And if all the veins converge, you call it as convergent. If they move from the base and spread apart, you call it as divergent. And parallel venation, where the veins run parallel to each other, and then if they meet at a point, you call it as convergent. And if from the base, if they spread across, you call it as divergent. Now, there are two different types of leaf. One is simple leaf and the other one is a compound leaf. In the picture, you can see that a simple leaf only it has, on the above picture, you can see that the leaf is only having a single blade. And they may have incisions, but the incisions are not deep, children, so that they don't divide the leaf into leaflets. Such kind of a leaf which has only a single blade, you call it as simple leaf. And you will find they arise an axillary bud which is present in the axil of a simple leaf. You can see that circle, the red circle which is there, that is the axillary bud from which the simple leaf arise. Below picture you can see that the blades of the compound leaves are divided into distinct parts, which you call them as the leaflets. And you can see the circular portion, that the red one which is shown there, that is the axillary bud. Where is the axillary bud? The axillary bud is present at the base of the rachis. You will call that the stalk which you can see on which the leaflets are borne, that you call it as rachis. and you don't find the axillary bud at the base of the leaflet. So, when you look the leaves, if you find an axillary bud at the base of the petiole there, then you call it as a simple leaf, and if you find the axillary bud at the base of the rachis, then you call it as a compound leaf. So, we will see the difference between the simple leaf and a compound leaf. So, a simple leaf has a single blade, it may have incisions, but these incisions are not deep enough to divide the blade into leaflets. And in compound leaf, you will find that the blades of the compound leaves are divided into distinct parts, which you call them as leaflets. An axillary bud is present in the axil of a simple leaf, but whereas in a compound leaf, you will find the axillary bud is present, but the leaflets do not have them. And simple leaf you can see in mango and guava, and compound leaf you will find in moringa and neem. So, you can see the picture enlarged one, where you will find the axillary bud at the base of the petiole there, that is a simple leaf, and if you find the axillary bud at the base of the rachis, not at the end of the leaflets, you call it as a compound leaf. Now, when you say the leaves are arranged on the stem, and we said that the leaf arrives at a point called as a node, and based on the arrangement of the leaves, there are 4 different forms which are there, and what we call it as phyllotaxy. Why the leaf should arrange in a definite pattern? Only if the leaves are arranged in a definite pattern, there will be no overcrowding of the leaves, and they expose themselves to the maximum for photosynthesis process to take place. And the arrangement of leaves on the stem is called as phyllotaxy. Phylum is a leaf, taxis is arrangement. And you will find in the first picture it is alternate, where you will find one leaf at a node. So, you will find leaves are alternatively arranged. If the leaves are facing opposite to each other, you call it as an opposite. In this opposite, you will find superposed, example guava, and opposite decussate you will find in calotropis. You all would have seen calotropis, I think so, children. If you have not seen, you see the arrangement of the leaves, so that you will know exactly what is that you are reading. And in nerium, you will find the leaves are arranged at a node 3 in number, so you call it as ternate phyllotaxy. And if it is more than 2 or more than 3, if they form a whorl, you call it as whorl phyllotaxy. So, when you walk in the garden, children, please check what is the arrangement of leaves on the plant. So, you will be able to study about alternate, opposite, ternate and whorl phyllotaxy. So, alternate is only one leaf per node, then you call it as alternate. If 2 leaves are there at a node, you call it as opposite. If they face each other, then you call it as opposite superposed. And in calotropis, ericampu, you will find, you can see that, children, arrangement where one pair of leaf is placed at right angles to the next upper or the lower pair of leaves. Then you call such arrangement as opposite decussate. Now, ternate phyllotaxy is where the 3 leaves are attached at each node, example nerium. And whorl phyllotaxy, where more than 3 leaves are present, then you call it as whorl phyllotaxy, which you can find in almanda. Now, what is the function of the leaf? The leaf performs photosynthesis, and we said it helps in gaseous exchange, and also it helps in transpiration. If it performs other than this primary function, you call it as modification, and the leaves are modified to store the food, or they may have hooks. They may have tendrils which help them for climbing, or they may have to capture the insects, which we call it as, which we see in pitcher plant or in bladderwort. So here the leaves are modified into tendrils, which you can find in Lathyrus, where the stem is very weak, and the leaves are modified into tendril for climbing. So they help, the tendrils means which are helping in climbing. And in xerophytes, in acacia, where you will find, in the picture you can see that the base of the petiole, you will find in the picture a flat portion you will find at the node which arises. It is nothing but the petiole which has become flat, green in color, and it performs photosynthesis. Above that you can find compound leaf, bipinnate compound leaf you will find. And this is the modification which you will find in acacia. So the phyllodes is nothing but a flat green colored leaf like modification of petiole or rachis, and it performs photosynthesis. So it is a phyllodes. Now a pitcher plant. Here the lamina of the leaf is modified into a pitcher. You will find in Nepenthes, or you call it as an insectivorous plant, you will call it as. Here the basal part of the leaf lamina continues as a coiled tendrilla structure, and it forms a pitcher. In the picture you can find a pitcher, and the pitcher is having a lid. And once if an insect comes and sits on the rim of the pitcher, it is being drawn inside, and the fluid whatever is present inside, that is the hydrolyzing proteins which are present, which will break down, and the nutrients are supplied to the plant. So it is a modification of a leaf into a pitcher, and it comes under insectivorous plant. In aquatic plants, example like Utricularia, where you will find the leaf segments are modified into a small bladder like structure, and these are called as bladderworts. So in bladderworts, Utricularia, and these are rootless, free floating submerged plants which you can find. The leaves are, in the picture you can see there, the leaves are so segmented, and some of these segments down you can see a small bladder like structure. It is nothing but the leaf segment which is modified to form a bladder like structure, and this bladder traps the aquatic animalcules which it comes in contact. So it is a form of a leaf modification. Thank you children. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha.